the special Lewiston City Council meeting to order. Second order of business is the pledge. If you would rise and join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We're moving on to item number 3 of the agenda, just to make clear the mayor is not joining us this evening. He is out of state and unable to join us on Zoom. Moving on to item number 3 of the agenda is citizen comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to address the council on agenda items or other items they wish to bring to the attention of the council. Citizens are encouraged to discuss operational issues in advance with the mayor. In consideration of others wishing to speak, please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. If you're here to speak on the one public hearing, please wait for that to make your comments regarding that particular topic. Are there any comments? All right, seeing none, we will move on to item number 4, public hearings and related action items. Letter A, public hearing ZNC 23-5, accepting testimony on a proposal to rezone an undeveloped tax parcel, RPL 355 W0059000, accepting that portion lying east of Gun Club Road, containing approximately 18 acres of land generally located west of Gun Club Road and north and south bisected by Nespers Drive, from agricultural transitional F2 zone to regional commercial C6 zone. So what we will do is I will announce that I will open the public hearing. Then we will have a staff presentation. The applicant is then welcome to come and testify or present any information. We will then take testimony from the public. We will then have council questions. And then the applicant is available to rebut if needed or feels necessary, and then we will close the public hearing. So I will open the public hearing and we will have staff presentation from Katie Hollingshead.
Good evening, Council. Katie Hollingshead, Assistant City Planner. Tonight, I have an application in front of you for ZNC 23 number 5. This is a zone change application by Joe and Francis McCann Family Limited Partnership. Subject property is an undeveloped tax parcel that contains approximately 18 acres of land. It is generally located west of Gun Club Road and north and south of Nespers Drive. It is bisected by Nespers Drive. So you can see on the map, subject property is outlined in red. This is Gun Club Road right here. The blue line indicates county property on the east side. This is Nespers Drive as it snakes around to the bottom. Intersections right down here underneath the yellow. And then this is the portion on the southern side of the road, and then the larger portion on the northern side of the road. So current zoning of the subject property is agricultural transitional, which is our F2 zone. You can see that is that green color circled here. Properties to the north are also in this agricultural transitional zone. Proposed rezone is to our regional commercial C6 zone. You can see there is a section of that zone over here in this dark red color. Subject property is adjacent to a large area that is called the Nespers Terrace Planned Unit Development, which is a mixed use zone. It contains currently commercial uses such as hotels, movie theater, retail stores, and Schweitzer Engineering Laboratories, which is this large white building kind of down here. There is in this planned unit development sections for high-density residential and low-density residential. And then this is the same map with our topography layer. There is quite a bit of difference in height on this parcel, and so we did want to point that out to council in making your consideration. From here at the intersection of Gun Club Road and the Nez Perce Drive, there's approximately 90 feet from this edge, oops, lost my cursor, from this edge down here in the southeast corner of the property up to this western boundary. So you have about 1,100 feet down here, you get to about 1190 and then upwards once you get up here. And then even more so once you follow that curve and get to, follow the curve and you get to the top of the Nez Perce Drive where it intersects with Juniper Drive. Again, you're at about 1,200 feet. Then let's look at some photos. So this is at the intersection of Nez Perce Drive and Gun Club Road. I am looking south. So I'm looking kind of up the curve of Gun Club Road will intersect with Stewart Avenue. And then pivoting around and looking west from the same intersection. This is looking, again, just at Nez Perce Drive, so going around the curve. You can see on this side by the 35-mile-per-hour sign, you can already see that topography starting to go upwards quite a bit. And same for the other side of the property. Again, it goes upwards quite a bit. There's a ledge there. Pivoting again, I'm now looking north at the same intersection. And you can see behind the light pole, again, quite a bit of topography as that slope goes upwards. And then further up the road, this is at the intersection of Nez Perce Drive and Juniper Drive. I'm looking west. You can see a movie theater over here. This is where like Ulta and other retail establishments are. Over here we have some hotels, business offices, etc. And then pivoting around and looking south, you can see Schweitzer Engineering Labs is that large white building up the hill. And then finally, one more pivot, looking east along the intersection. So the subject property is actually past this large gravel pile you can see in the distance. So quite a ways away, and I'll just go back to the original map so you can see. That's why I'm standing here, subject property over here. So this application was reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission with a public hearing back in July on the 12th. They voted unanimously to recommend approval to City Council. They received a single public testimony, which was in support of the application. That letter was included in the packet that was given to Council for today. Subject property, as I mentioned, is adjacent to that Nez Perce Terrace planned unit development, which has a mixed use of both commercial and residential uses. It's very similar to the C6 zoning district, which also borders it on the west side. Subject property is located in what is called Neighborhood 3, East Lewiston, and does have a future land use designation of commercial. And with that, I would stand for questions.
Any questions for Katie? Okay, at this time, we would accept the applicant's testimony. Is the applicant here?
We have a representative.
Eric Hasenerl, Celtic Engineering, 315 Adams Lane. I'm here on behalf of our client, McCann Limited Partnership, who has the application in for this zone change from transition agricultural to commercial. This parcel really is in the shadow of Nez Perce Terrace PUD. It's right adjacent to additional commercial area that's in the PUD. And the roads and infrastructure have already been built to a much higher level. And you can see that when you look at Nez Perce Drive, and certainly the intersection with Gun Club Road. Water has already been built into the roadway, and so they certainly have access and they have those things. This land also is separated, as staff was saying, by topography. It's not as high as the Nez Perce Terrace PUD, but it's also not down low, down by Gun Club. It's in between, right? So it is kind of a little bit isolated, but it does fit best into the commercial zone. So we certainly think that it's the highest and best use of the parcel and for this property, because it keeps your commercial zone together. It's fed on a truck access route. It has lots of access. It has big water, has lots of water in the fire hydrants insofar as flow. So it is an area that just really is fit for commercial. And commercial really assists the city of Lewiston in its vitality and diversity by bringing more businesses to town and adding to its economic sustainability. So we certainly advocate, and certainly hope you do too, that this would fit in the commercial zone and change its zoning to commercial. If you had any questions that I could answer, I would certainly be willing to do that.
I do have one question for either one of you. Can you just tell me a little bit of the history? Obviously, there's a road going through that. So is there a prior relationship, easement, agreement for that parcel of land and that the road we've recently put in, or is that a?
My understanding is that the McCanns provided that road in partnership with the URA and other developers when it was built.
Okay, at this time, we would take any testimony from the public. Is there any public that would like to testify in regards to this particular? None? I will close the public hearing. And we will move on to letter B, ordinance 4893, first reading. Considering implementing the city council's decision in the NC 23-5, declaring that certain real property be removed from the agricultural transitional F2 zone and included in the regional commercial C6 zone, and amending the official zoning map of the city of Lewiston. This is an action item. Counselor Schroeder.
Councilor President, may I make a motion?
Motion is in order.
I move to approve the first reading of ordinance number 4893.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Schroeder, seconded by Counselor Forsman to approve the first reading of ordinance number 4893. Is there any discussion or amendments? None. This is a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to Roman numeral 5, active agenda, letter, oh, I'm sorry, would you please over, I apologize.
Approving the first reading of ordinance 4893, an ordinance of the city of Lewiston implementing the city council's decision in ZNC 23-5, declaring that certain real property be removed from the agricultural transitional F2 zone to the regional commercial C6 zone, amending the official zoning map of the city of Lewiston and providing an effective date.
Thank you. I apologize. I'll try not to get past your parts. Now we'll move on to Roman numeral 5, active agenda, letter A, resolution 2023-50, considering amending resolution 2023-43 to reduce the monthly user fee for residential properties described as service area 2 fee per ERU utility assistance program from $4.05 to $4.04 in order to comply with the city's utility billing software requirements. Action item that I'm sure Director Johnson will explain.
Good evening, City Council. Dustin Johnson, Public Works Director. I believe you may have explained everything that was pertinent in the introduction there, that essentially last week, we, with Resolution 2023-43, established the service areas and the rates for those service areas. Unbeknownst to us, when we were making those changes, or you were making those changes, utility billing needs our rates to be even numbers, and one of those rates that was adopted was an odd number. And so that was that service area 2 fee per ERU for the utility assistance program, which we now are requesting to amend it from $4.05 per ERU to $4.04 per ERU. I stand for questions.
Counselor Towesley.
I don't have a question. I'm just going to, I make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-50.
Second.
Been moved by Counselor Towesley, seconded by Counselor Forsman to approve Resolution 2023-50. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Clerk Brockie.
Counselor Spicklemeyer?
Aye.
Counselor Kleberg?
Aye.
Counselor Schroeder?
Aye.
Counselor Forsman? Aye. Counselor Towesley?
Aye.
Council President Lidke?
Aye.
Buddy, oh.
They're like, what? Keeping us awake.
Thank you. Moving on to item B, ordinances. Number 1, second reading. This is letter A, ordinance 4892, considering amending ordinance 4858, the annual appropriation ordinance for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2022, and ending September 30th, 2023, appropriating additional monies that are to be received by the city of Lewiston, Idaho, in the sum of $25,521,810. This is an action item. Director Gordon, do you need to? No, we're good. There any discussion or questions from the council?
Had an amendment. Votes are not loading. That's great. Not yet. Not yet. Okay.
So I just want to say I believe a few of us got some emails that, Director Gordon, could you just once again explain that when we say things like money to be received, those are just accounting terms to make sure that we are getting things on the book correctly?
Thank you, Council. Amy Gordon, City Treasurer. The majority of the items in the list of amendments are items that have come before council throughout the year. So you maybe have approved an RFP related to these items, an emergency resolution, and then some of them are related to some grant funding that we received in the year. There's a couple entries on here specifically related to the airport that we just need to make the budgetary entry so that we're compliant to adjustments we need to make in our ledger. We're not actually receiving money and we're not actually spending money, but we have to, when we inherit improvements made by the airport, they're improving an asset that the city owns, we have to make an entry to our books. So we always wait and record that budget at the end of the year when we have a better idea of how much they have invested in the airport. And then likewise with the golf fund, we closed that fund out this year and we had to make some adjustments to our books to do that. The city didn't receive any money and we didn't spend any money, but we're just making the entries to our budget that allow us to make those closing entries to our books. And then to absorb those assets into the general fund, likewise, we have to make entries to the books.
Counselors?
Madam President,
Towesley.
I'll make the motion to approve the second reading of ordinance number 4892.
Second.
Been moved by Counselor Towesley, seconded by Counselor Schroeder to approve the second reading of ordinance 4892. Is there any discussion or amendments? Seeing none, this is a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes. Clerk Rocky?
Approving the second reading of ordinance number 4892, an ordinance of the City of Lewiston amending ordinance number 4858, the annual appropriation ordinance for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2022, and ending September 30th, 2023, appropriating additional monies that are to be received by the City of Lewiston, Idaho, in the sum of $25,521,810, and providing an effective date.
Moving on to item letter B, ordinance 4894, to be termed the 2024 annual appropriation ordinance, considering appropriating sums of money authorized by law and deemed necessary for all general and special municipal purposes of the City of Lewiston for the fiscal year commencing October 1, 2023, and ending September 30, 2024. This is an action item. Counselor Schroeder.
Madam President, I'd like to move to approve the second reading of ordinance number 4894.
Second.
Been moved by Counselor Schroeder, seconded by Counselor Towesley to approve the second reading of ordinance number 4894. Is there discussion or amendments? Counselor Spicklemeyer.
Thank you, Counselor. I guess my issue with this whole budget is that with the current economy hitting all of us with our gas, our food, our property taxes are way high. Even in my household, I think our monthly budget went up by about $400. And we had our citizen comments, social media, emails, my phone calls. Everybody's asking for tax relief, and they're asking us to fix our streets. I think our move last week to move some money into our transportation street program was the positive one. I think that'll help us a lot, but I really don't see in the budget that we've made any efforts to help our citizens by doing any type of a tax relief on this budget. And as a discussion item, I just like to, maybe talk about some kind of relief out there, do something, help everybody out.
Am I able to make amendment right now?
Amendments are in order.
Okay, thank you. I didn't know if you were pointing at me. Okay, so let me see if I can gather my thoughts here. Make an amendment to the 2.5% COLA from the non-represented employees and request that the staff bring back for the third reading an amendment appropriation ordinance that reflects the removal of the 2.5%. And then tax certification ordinance, but the amendment specifies. And then to specify to reduce it by tax savings from the amendment, removing the 2.5 COLA from the non-representative employees.
I'm going to second that for discussion. So,
Sound clear?
first of all, we need to probably say that COLAs are cost of living allowances,
Yes.
and that your motion is to withhold that from non-represented employees, which means anything we have under collective bargaining, we cannot change. So we would make adjustments to those that aren't under that. Does not take away from their step increase that is based on their competency and merit. Pullback of the cost of living increase.
Correct. I guess I'll speak to my motion. Last meeting, I tried to get at least some money to relieve for the taxpayers through the other fund with that was it 1.65? And that went into, for the roads, which is, it makes sense that we can have more money in there to be able to maybe get a bond or get some big road, projects done. But that was that's the place that I saw. But if we can't do it there, then hopefully then we can maybe look at this as an option to pull back so that we have a chance to catch up, because a lot of people are feeling the hurt and they're looking at us to find ways to give them relief. And I don't feel like we're doing that. I feel like we're just going with the status quo and what we've already whatever's been doing. And I think we need to make a change. And they'll still, like Hannah said, they'll still get their increases. This is just taking 1 year step back to look at the COLA increase and whether this is something we feel is feasible for the next following years, as our times economically are not on the brightest side.
Counselor Schroeder?
Thank you. I do not believe, I think that we have worked very, very hard to level the playing field between our represented and our non-represented employees. And this would just, I think, be the wrong move to make. So I am not in favor of this at all.
Counselor Chowsley?
Do we have a sense of how many people who are employees of the city are not represented?
About 25%.
25%. Sounds like you're pro-union. You want to make sure that everybody joins the union so they're not affected by something that feels kind of punitive. And so I can't support it. And I don't think it's going to be I'd like to know how much money that is. I don't think it's a lot. I think it's a lot of symbolism, and I won't support it.
Counselor Kleber?
Thank you, Council President. I guess my question is, to what end? I kind of agree with Councilor Towsley. We've been down this road before, and we actually did withhold a raise. We've got 3 represented unions, and then we've got the non-represented employees. So the represented employees are still going along, seeing their increase, and what we're basically telling the other employees that aren't represented by a union that maybe they're not as appreciated or not worth as much. And I see no point in this amendment.
Question or comment? Counselor Spiegelmeier?
Thank you, Counselor. I'd have to agree. I'd hate to try to adjust our budget by affecting our employees. I think we should look further towards some of our, we're going to spend about $470,000 on improvements to the golf course. I'd rather see some of that cut back a little bit as to take some money away from some employees.
I would just remind the council that this is an amendment to have the staff bring back some numbers. While I appreciate that we're not trying to, we certainly don't want to lose staff. We certainly don't want to rank any staff above that, but we already do that through the employment process and ranking an organizational chart. And I think that what we are trying to do is, when you look at our budget and you look at the population, there's very few of the citizens receiving automatic COLAs and increases. And there's been some concern as to how do we control the spending of the budget? And if we're raising staff wages and increasing, because even though the asks weren't there this year, they were there, they didn't make it to the budget, but for increased staffing numbers. And the staffing numbers for the city have grown exponentially more in percentage than our own city's population. And while I believe that people should be paid their worth when you choose to work for the government, I don't think it should be that you are guaranteed automatic, especially when the people that you are serving are asking for relief. So I appreciate the motion. I did feel like it's a hard thing to do, to step back and take a look. This was simply a request to have staff take a look at what those numbers would be. So I would support the motion simply because we're not voting to take anything away. We're simply asking the staff to bring us what that would look like in the third reading. I'm more than happy to look at other amendments, but we have this reading and the next. And I will say that if we don't start having this work done come the third reading, we're very limited in our time to make sure we meet our deadlines to really do go after this budget. So we need to be presenting staff with some options to bring information back to us. That's the premise of Counselor Foreman's amendment motion.
Council President, could I just clarify her motion real quick, if you don't mind? Kayla Herman, City Attorney. So my understanding of the motion, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that Counselor Forsman would be requesting for the 2.5% COLA be removed for the non-represented employees. And in which case, the finance department would then, if that amendment were to pass, the finance department would go back and actually make those changes to the ordinance and bring it back. So that change would happen. Did I misunderstand that? Were you just wanting staff to prepare those numbers so council could see what those would look like at
I
that
meant to
time?
make a prepare, excuse me, to prepare them. So I probably should have worded that differently.
Okay, thank you. So then it wouldn't actually be an amendment to the ordinance in front of you. It would be a request for staff to bring back those numbers so council could see what they look like and then potentially take action on them.
Okay.
Is that correct? Did I understand that correctly?
That works, yes, that was,
Okay, thank you.
do I need to do anything further, excuse me, to get that for the next meeting, or are we pretty much?
I don't think so. I think as long as council is clear on what you're voting on, that this is not requesting an amendment to the ordinance at this time. It's requesting that staff prepare those numbers so council can see what that would look like at the third reading.
Okay.
And then if council wished to make that amendment during the third reading, you could.
Okay,
So as long as everyone's clear on that, I think that's okay then.
okay.
Thank you.
President Licky.
Forsman.
I also, I understand obviously the staff, we want to be competitive, but we, as Hannah has said, there is, most people and most employers in Idaho don't even give a COLA increase. So a lot of these people are not getting this increase and they're feeling the pain and they're feeling their property taxes continue to rise. And I don't get this from Facebook. I get this from people coming to me and being like, my bill went up $400 and I'm struggling to pay my bills. So I'm wanting to see something happen and I feel like I'm bringing things to the table, but no one else is bringing stuff to the table. We're talking about cutting funds, so let's bring it to the table. I'm up for ideas. So what do we have for ideas to make cuts that's not going to affect the roads or not going to affect some projects? Because right now, I'm just hearing we're going to stick to the status quo instead of looking at ways that we can provide relief. And it's not trying to make, I'm not even getting voted in this year. I'm not trying to run to get, I'm still on council for the next 2 years. So it's not like I'm trying to get voted in again for this year. I'm not trying to run for that. I'm trying to run for the passion of trying to find a way to give some relief to our taxpayers. Whether this is the right option, maybe not, but let's bring some discussion to the table or different ideas to the table so that we can actually do this. Because I feel like so far I'm trying to find different ways but then get shot down, but no one else is bringing anything else to the table.
Any other discussion? So there's a motion on the table for not necessarily an amendment, but a request of staff. That need to be roll call or is that a voice?
Voice vote's fine.
So for, this is in not to approve, but to, pass Counselor Forsman's motion to have staff bring forward the information and
I'm sorry,
calculations.
can I add one more thing?
Sure.
I'm sorry. I appreciate Counselor Forsman trying to do something, but if you're trying to throw darts up on a dartboard to see what you hit, I think I think all of us sitting at this table have gone through the budget and we've been looking at things. But this seems capricious at best. And it does sound like you're running for election when you're going to single out a certain group. If you were to say, we can't reduce COLA, so how do you arrive at who's going to get that? And you got 25% of people, and there is a hierarchy within everything, but most likely the people who are not paying those fees to be a part of that, they're the ones that are really struggling within our city staff. And so I don't want you, we're all looking at this to try to figure out how to make it better. But I think what you've chosen to select and spend time on is just not a good idea.
President Leakey.
Counselor Forsman.
And that is why I made the point that then please bring some other things to the table, because I'm not trying to throw a dartboard. I'm trying to find things in ways that isn't going to hurt our budget significantly where we're making major cuts or anything. So I'm trying to, the least hurtful thing to make a cut on to provide some relief. We have looked at the budget, but then yet I haven't seen any other options of trying to make or discussion even of trying to make a different way for us to bring some relief. And so I guess I disagree with that a certain population, or I'm speaking for people that are coming to me and having a hard time. And that's what we were here to do, is speak for the people and listen to them. And that's what I'm trying to do, but I'm trying to do it smart. And I know that people are still getting good raises within the city on top of the COLA. So a 2.5 for 1 year, I don't see the huge significance, or at least discussing it, bringing what does it look like? Is this really going to hurt them? Maybe we would decide once it came that it wouldn't be the best option. But at least it shows the taxpayers that we're looking at ways and avenues that might work, and maybe that's not the option, but I'm open to other more feasible options if people have some, but I just not hearing any.
I would just like to add that the 25% that are non-represented, the majority of those are administrative and directors, are general top tier. Let's call the Counselor Spickelmeyer.
Thank you. And I appreciate Counselor Forsman's efforts. I have the same thing, but this is my first budget meeting. I'm not really sure what the process goes. And I wasn't sure if we had to pick specific line items to reduce, or if you can do just an overall reduction in the tax levy.
Really, you can do either, because one is saying to the staff, go back and bring it back. The other is saying, I want it from specifically this, which is like in the previous motion made to move the 1.6 was a very specific move to ensure that we had money for roads. You could come and say a percentage, but let's speak to this motion and then we can talk about further amendment. Okay, this is just to approve the request of staff to bring back information of what it would look like to reduce non-represented staff and pull back the COLA of 2.5%. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
Do you want to? I said nay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Tie is a fail. Any other amendments? Counselor Spickelmeyer.
I'd like to make a motion to reduce the property tax levy by 2.5%.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to reduce tax levy by 2.5%. Discussion?
The ordinance that's before council right now is on the annual appropriations and not the tax certification
Oh,
levy.
sorry, I apologize. I skipped ahead myself. So that will come later with the 4895. So is there any, sorry, and I apologize. I meant to say that and let conversation continue and I got, so this is specific to presented line item breakdown of that ordinance 4894, and you should be in your packet, you can pull it up. So you'd be making amendments to those. General fund, other government funds, is there any? Counselor Spicklemeyer.
Like to make a motion to reduce the general fund golf fund by $200,000.
I have a clarification.
The motion on the table,
Like before, okay. I'll second it.
Counselor Forsman.
Can you, is that on a line item on the paperwork? Can you point out where, or are you just saying that like a general statement?
On ordinance 4894, page 2 of 4 of that ordinance. Look, under general fund, golf has an amount appropriated of $588,130. Council Spicklemeyer's motion is to reduce that by $200,000.
I have a question.
Counselor Chowsley.
With contracts in place, how will that affect the operators of the golf, of the golf course? How's that gonna, what is that gonna look like? Director Barker, could you help us with that?
Council President, Council Tim Barker, Parks and Rec Director. I would have to see what page you're looking at. I don't have that in front of me. So I'm not sure if you're referring to the one-time use of reserves, 200,000 coming from there, or the general budget that's been submitted. So I would have to see what it is you're looking at to be able to answer that.
So Director Barker, we're in the annual appropriations ordinance. So it is under general government funds, the proposed appropriation is 588,130.
Yeah, so that dollar amount does include those capital projects, and so that's most likely where we would probably focus on those items that we've identified as needs.
Just to clarify, that's the top drawer, the net, those things, correct? There's like
Correct, yeah, the
lower-
equipment and the course improvements.
There questions or discussion?
Uh,
Counselor Forsman.
No, I was just up here on a rant, but I think my only concern is if we improve the golf course for more to come, will that build a revenue source or continue a revenue source for, at the city is my, and maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's my question and concern.
Counselor Spiegelmeier.
Thank you, Counselor. I guess my concern is the amount of upgrades they're going to have. One of them is $130,000 for a new golf cart barn. I can see some of the equipment. I agree with that. That's kind of why I went with the 200,000. There's 130,000 for a barn and 60,000 for something to do with the putting green or something. But I just think with our budget, somebody has to take some kind of cuts. It just seems like a lot of money to put in a golf course.
Can I just provide a
Director
point of
Gordon.
clarification? Thank you. Amy Gordon, City Treasurer. So the specific items that Counselor Spiegelmeier is addressing, if the intent would be that you would also lower taxes, okay, because those are using reserves, so those would not have a tax impact. I just wanted to clarify.
Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote on Council Spiegelmeier's amendment to reduce golf fund under general government funds from 588,130 to by 200,000, making it 388,130. Seconded by Counselor Forsman. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
Motion fails. Other amendments? None. A voice vote to the original motion to approve the second reading of ordinance number 4894. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes. Third reading is on Monday. Moving on to letter C, ordinance 4895. Consider fixing and establishing the tax
Council
certificate.
President Licky.
Oh, excuse
Yeah.
me. You need to
Second
read-
reading.
You need to read something again.
Sorry.
I'm trying to hurry, obviously. I apologize.
Approving the second reading of ordinance 4894, an ordinance of the city of Lewiston to be termed the 2024 annual appropriation ordinance, appropriating sums of money authorized by law and deemed necessary for all general and special municipal purposes of the city of Lewiston, Idaho, for the fiscal year commencing October 1, 2023, and ending September 30th, 2024, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Now we will move on to letter C, ordinance 4895. Considering fixing and establishing the tax certification on all taxable properties situated within the corporate limits of the city of Lewiston for the fiscal year commencing October 1, 2023, and ending September 30th, 2024, for the purpose of providing and raising money for municipal and corporate purposes, providing for the tax certification to the Board of County Commissioners of Nez Perce County, Idaho, in the amount of $23,476,970, providing a certified copy of the 2024 annual appropriation ordinance to the Board of County Commissioners of Nez Perce County, Idaho, as adopted by the city of Lewiston for the 2023-2024 fiscal year. This is an action item. I would note that we do need to make a fix during amendment, and I will make that motion since I made the original, and that was not caught, but I do need that first motion to approve second reading. Counselor Schroeder.
Council President, I move to approve the second reading of ordinance number 4895.
Do I have a second?
I'm sorry.
Second.
Oh,
I will second it.
First, Bicklemeyer would.
Is there any discussion on the second reading? Council Spiegelmeier.
Like to make a motion to reduce the tax certificate by 2.5%.
Moved by Council Spiegelmeier to reduce the levy by 2.5%. Going to second it for discussion. And ask a question. Within that, there's general fund, public transportation, and then there's special funds, library, street, cemetery, and capital projects that are all under Idaho code. Is there, do you need a specific area of that to be removed? Likely general fund, I would. Otherwise, we're going against Idaho code. Levy.
President Leakey?
Counselor Forsman.
I think, for me, reason was when I was picking at least one area, it was kind of an easy way to know, okay, this is where we're gonna see it cut. So out of the general, I'm not sure what that would look like. It seems like we just have to cut across and divvy it out. And I think the amount would be around 600,000 or something.
No, if he, say he took it out of, if he took a total of the 23 million, you can do,
2.5%, it's 590,000.
oh, close. So essentially with no specifics, the staff would go back and either come back with a plan where they cut through projects, positions, however they come up with it. They could pull from reserves to cover more projects. But they would, you're basically directing staff to come back with that reduction shown in the budget. Mayor and the staff. It would be a reduction of 590,000. Right, 590? There, Counselor Schroeder.
thank you. Can we request that this not be a motion tonight, but it's bringing information back to us for the next reading?
We're asking Counselor Spiegelmeier for a friendly amendment.
Friendly amendment. If you would consider have staff bring us back what that would look like to our general fund, because I really don't want it to impact any of our streets or anything like that. So if they could bring back what that would look like rather than making that motion tonight.
Agree.
Okay, so you would accept that friendly motion. All right.
And then it's a voice vote at that point, right? Just like last time.
Okay, so we're going to clarify, would you restate your motion, and it would basically be request or directing staff to come back with a 2.5% reduction?
I'd like to make a motion to direct staff to bring back information or show the effects of a 2.5% decrease in the property tax levy.
Need another second?
I will second it.
I'll second it.
I was the original.
Oh,
second,
okay,
so
you
I'm
second
gonna-
it.
Any further discussion on that particular motion? Counselor Kleberg? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Are there any other amendments or requests of staff motions? Sorry. Seeing none, we will return to the original motion of, oh, I do have an amendment. I apologize. I'm just, took my contacts out and I'm ready for bed, so I apologize. I would like to make an amendment, and I would move to amend ordinance number 4895 by decreasing line item A, general fund, by 1.65 million, or 1,650,000, for a new total of $16,389,290, and increasing line item B, special funds, streets, transportation fund, by $1,650,000, for a new total of $4,904,000.
Second.
And just to speak to my motion, that is so that we make sure the change we made previously in the line items gets changed, our certificate that goes through the county. Any other discussion, Counselor Kleberg?
And just so we're clear, I really don't have a big problem with this, but just so we're clear, this is not saving anybody any tax dollars.
Correct.
This is a shift.
Correct, this was not a reduction.
President Leakey?
Counselor Borsman.
I just want to say, I just want to point out to the taxpayers that although this isn't saving them on their tax bill for their home, hopefully we will see some big road projects movement with this, if I'm speaking to that correctly. So hopefully that's what this will accomplish.
It does allow for us to move in that direction. There's some future steps.
Thank you.
Counselor Towsley.
Yeah, I support this, and I think it's important to get things moving with streets and transportation fund, but I want to caution the council to pulling things from, we have a fund where we were supporting and a fund to build monies for Firehouse number 4. And, if you have that cookie jar up on the fridge and you've been putting money away for something, and then you decide you're not going to get it right away, and you go, oh, I need it for this, I need it for that, I need it for something else, then it's going to be gone when you need it. And I don't think, if that happens, it's going to be even that much more difficult in the long run. So, I support this. I think it's important, but I don't want it to be a habit. And I hope that it won't become a habit of the city council.
Other comments? All right, all those in favor of amending ordinance number 4895 with the line item A and moving it to line item B, special funds, please signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Now we will go back to the original motion to approve the second reading of ordinance number 4895 as amended. Those in,
That would take in both amendments. Myers and yours, right?
well, his wasn't an amendment, his was a request.
Oh, request for staff. Thank you. Okay.
So yes, taking in with the amendments, but we made the amendment, we're going back to approving the second reading.
Thank you very much.
All those in favor?
Oh,
Aye with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. The title.
Approving the second reading of ordinance number 4895, an ordinance of the city of Lewiston fixing and establishing the tax certification on all taxable properties situated within the corporate limits of the city of Lewiston for the fiscal year commencing October 1, 2023, and ending September 30, 2024, for the purpose of providing and raising monies for municipal and corporate purposes, providing for the tax certification to the Board of County Commissioners of Nez Perce County, Idaho, in the amount of $23,476,970, providing a certified copy of the 2024 annual appropriation ordinance to the Board of County Commissioners of Nez Perce County, Idaho, as adopted by the city of Lewiston for the 2023 to 20.
Thank you, council. I know budgets are not fun and it is easy to get in the weeds, so thank you for good conversation. Moving on to number 2, first, second, and third readings. This letter A is ordinance 4897. It's considering amending section 2-12A of the Lewiston City Code regarding the mayor's compensation, amending section 2-22, letter A regarding city council and council president compensation. This is an action item. There a staff report at all? Over. Gordon?
I don't have one for you this evening.
Counselor Schroeder?
At this point, I would rather give up my salary and then taking some of the other kind of things that we're looking at more along with that. So if that's an option for anyone else, that would be my amendment to this, is not to approve it.
So first, to get this in order to make sure we can address it, we do need to make a motion to combine the first, second, and third readings.
Thank you. May I do that?
You certainly can. A motion's in order.
I move to combine the first, second, and third readings and waive one reading in full of ordinance number 4897.
Second? Discussion on the motion.
President Lickey? Just a discussion, I guess. As Councilor Schroeder said, I can't say that I'm wanting to sit here and cut the budget and then turn around and vote for this to increase council's pay. So I'm not in support of this, although I do appreciate the team that came together to do the research and look through this. And we are the lower end on the pay scale for municipalities, for councils, compared to other cities. But at this current time, I can't support this.
Counselor Towesley, and just so we know, we'll have further discussion that we can make amendments. This is just to combine the readings, this first motion.
I'd like to slow this down. I don't want to combine the readings. So should I have offered something earlier? Or should I can't support this. I think there hasn't been enough public input to this. I believe that the mayor deserves a raise. He works extremely hard. I don't have a problem with that. And since this won't take effect for me anyway, I don't have any skin in the game. And so I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but I would like more public input, and so I would like the readings. I would like to have 3 separate readings rather than combine them. I want public input.
Thank you, Councilor Towesley. And I will say that we did receive a public comment in regards to that. However, you bring up a good point that if we were to negate our raises, which I will say that I am in full support of Council President and Council not, but if there is support for the mayor to receive a wage increase due to the workload that he carries, this would need to go through because of timing issues and what we need to do to meet deadlines for the tax commission. We probably missed a meeting that we didn't get the notice in on time, so the timing is off, or otherwise we would have a full 3 readings. So that's just out there. So we can,
So this can only be done one time a year? Is that what you're saying? I'm trying to understand.
go to Kayla.
Yeah.
Let's phone a friend.
Thank you.
Kayla Herman, City Attorney. So Council President Lidkey's exactly right. The timing of this ordinance is important and actually set by state law. So typically, an ordinance like this would probably go through the city's standard process where you hold the first reading at one meeting, then the next meeting, second and third readings combined, followed by adoption. No public hearing is required in the statute, but we
actually remembered the ordinance requirement and the timeline a little later in the process, to be quite honest. In Idaho code, it's section 5203 requires an ordinance that changes the compensation to be published in the Tribune at least 75 days before the election. So that's why all three readings and adoption are before you tonight, to give sufficient time for that ordinance summary to be published on Thursday of this week, August 24th, which is exactly 75 days before the election. So as Council President Lipke explained earlier, so the motion before council at this moment is to combine all three readings and waive one reading in full. That does require 4 votes. If that passes, then you can continue on with the readings and make any amendments as council deems fit. However, if that were to fail, then you could only proceed with the first reading tonight, and there's not enough time between now and Thursday to hold another special meeting to get the summary published in the Tribune. So that's why it's a condensed schedule before you tonight.
We have a motion and a second to combine the first readings. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Passes.
Do you want me? Make a motion to approve the first, second, and third readings of ordinance number 4897.
Second.
Second. It's been moved, seconded by Counselor Schroeder and Counselor Towsley to approve the first, second, and third readings of ordinance number 4897. Their discussion or amendments?
Schroeder. I'd like to amend that. Is this the point? The amendment that I could make that would not have any additional increase in our compensation?
Oh, if you're gonna address the mayor, say that, would you?
Okay. Take section 2-22 compensation back to its original wording, which is compensation, city council, compensation, sorry. City council compensation shall be fixed in accordance with Idaho Code 50-203. City councilors shall receive a compensation $700 per month. 70.
No.
Oh, $700. There we go. Thank you. My eyes are crossing. Per month, period.
I'll second that amendment. Discussion. Counselor Spicklemeyer.
You repeat that, I couldn't hear it that well.
I'm sorry.
I can, so she moved to amend the ordinance under section 2-22, which is compensation for city council, and it would just return to the already approved language of city councilors shall receive as compensation $700 per month, period, instead of the new language, which would increase to $770 for city councilors, and that city council president shall receive a compensation of $850. That is now removed and going back to the original language.
The mayor's part stays the same.
The mayor,
The mayor's would stay as proposed.
Okay.
Further discussion? All right, we're gonna vote on the amendment to return the language under section 2-22 compensation for city council to original language as previously passed. All those in favor, please signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Okay.
Motion passes. Clerk Rocky. Oh. Go back to the motion to approve first, second, and third reading as amended. So we made the motion. All those in favor of approving the first, second, and third reading as amended, please signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Okay.
Motion passes. Now, Clerk Rocky. I will get it right one time in my lifetime.
Approving the first, second, and third readings of ordinance number 4897, an ordinance of the City of Lewiston amending Section 2-12A of the Lewiston City Code regarding the mayor's compensation and providing an effective date.
On to item number 3, adoption and approval of ordinance summaries. Letter A is ordinance 4897. This is an action item.
Council President Lidkey, if you don't mind, with that amendment on the fly here, I need to revise the ordinance summary. So if you don't mind, and the counselors don't mind if I read for you what the revised ordinance summary will say before you vote on it?
I think we would not
That work?
even mind,
Okay.
but greatly appreciate it.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. So it will say City of Lewiston Summary of Ordinance Number 4897. Ordinance number 4897, an ordinance of the City of Lewiston amending Section 2-12A of the Lewiston City Code regarding the mayor's compensation and providing an effective date. Section 1 amends Lewiston City Code Section 2-12A to increase the mayor's annual salary from $80,000 to $84,000. Section 2 provides an effective date of January 1, 2024, in accordance with Idaho Code Section 50-203. Ordinance number 4897 shall take effect on January 1, 2024. The full text of this ordinance is available at the City Clerk's Office, Lewiston City Hall, 1134 F Street, Lewiston, during regular business hours. I, Kayla Herman, City Attorney, reviewed the foregoing summary of ordinance number 4897. The summary is true and complete and provides adequate notice to the public pursuant to Idaho Code Section 50-901A. And then there's a spot for the summary to be dated and signed.
Oh,
You don't
I've
have to.
lost it. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, the motion is in order to adopt ordinance number 4897 and approve the related ordinance summary. I will move to adopt the ordinance number 4897 and approve the related ordinance summary.
Second.
Moved by myself, seconded by Counselor Schroeder. Discussion. And this is a roll call vote.
Counselor Towsley?
Aye.
Counselor Forsman?
Aye.
Counselor Schroeder?
Aye.
Counselor Kleberg?
Aye.
Counselor Spickelmeyer?
Aye.
Council President Lidkey?
Aye. Roman numeral 6 is items removed from the consent agenda, which we do not have since the special meeting. We'll move on to letter B, but not letter B. I just spun the wrong thing. Sorry, I appreciate it. Roman numeral number 7, unfinished and new business. Letter A is city councilor comments. Comments shall not be related to an item currently before the city council or an item that may come before the city council in the foreseeable future and shall be limited to comments, not discussion.
Lickey.
Counselor Forsman.
Just want to remind the public, the schools are starting. We are back with kids being in school and the slowing down in the school zone, so please be aware. I know we get kind of in the habit of schools out, so we kind of just go through there, maybe not paying attention as much. So I just ask that we keep an eye on each other's kids, and that we are slowing down in those areas, and that we're focusing on the safety of our little children that are being taught at our wonderful schools that we have here in Lewiston. So I know my little guy's starting kindergarten, so I have some mommy crying moments and trying to adjust to having my little guy in school. So, but I just want to remind the public that they are starting, so to be aware of the school zones.
Counselor Schroeder.
I'm going to do a council liaison comment. Envision Lewiston 2044. There you can take the survey and help us all figure out what we should look like in 2044. You can take the survey on the city website, but you can also be at the farmer's market this Saturday. I think it starts at 9. So, and we will be there in person to walk you through all of that. So if you'd like to come and join us and find out what it's really all about, look forward to seeing you.
Other comments? None? Oh, Counselor Kleber.
Just a brief one. I appreciate Counselor Forsman's enthusiasm on taking a strong look at the budget. And yes, I apologize, but I will have some potential amendments for next Monday, which is the final reading of the budget.
Alrighty.
Moving on to item number 8, adjournment. I would
Madam
accept a motion.
Second.
Council President, motion to adjourn.
Been moved by Counselor Kleber, seconded by Counselor Towesley to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, staff.